Good morning. Today we're going to be potting up some culinary herbs. We're going to be putting them into 4-inch pots. So we have a 4-inch pot here, and we're just going to fill it full of our soil. This is our worm casting soil. And so we just firm it down a little bit. And then we're going to put a hole in there. And then we will take our plant and we'll very gently loosen it from the plug tray. And we'll set the plant in there. This is, and I just firmed it a little bit, and then we'll water it, and then it's done. So this is a sage plant, but let me tell you why we're doing this. There's two reasons why. Number one, we're having an open house, and I thought people might want to take some fun things home with them. So when people come to the open house, we'll have some potted plants for sale. Here I have a tarragon plant, just to show you, but it's fun and it's been growing for a little while. So we're going to have an array of herbs for sale. But there's another reason that we're doing this, and that is because we love to have fresh growing herbs in the kitchen, so that when we're cooking we can just pick the herbs and put them in the food that we're cooking right then, because that is the best way to do it. If you have dried herbs, not quite as good as fresh. If you have artificial flavors, that's no good when we can grow this. It's perfect. And if we're dependent upon a society that creates all of this stuff for us, then what if they decide not to create it? Then we don't have it, and we're getting cheated. So what we want to do is to just have an array of these plants on our own. So when you're in your house and you have a beautiful plant, picture this 10 times bigger, really thick and really big. Well, you could pick off several leaves and you could cook with it, but they don't grow very good in your house. So what we will do is once a week we would take 6 or 7 of these pots in the kitchen, set them up where they're beautiful. During the week we can pick from them, and then when we get them trimmed down so they're small, we bring them back to the greenhouse, and then they grow back in the greenhouse, and then we can take them back to the kitchen. If I'm going to use the equivalent of 3 sage plants worth every week, I would want about 12 potted plants so that I can take 3 in, and then the rest of them are recovering in the greenhouse and growing good for me. In the wintertime I may even want more because they don't grow very much in the wintertime. So we're going to pot a whole bunch of these up. So here I have a tray of rosemary seed, and it has come up really well. I'm happy with this germination rate that we have here. And then we have thyme plants. You can see the empty cells have already been transplanting those out. And then we have the sages. So we're just going to fill these up in a whole bunch of 4-inch pots so that we can have fresh culinary herbs in the kitchen all the time. So here we go. Okay, do you remember a couple of weeks ago when I started the cuttings? So here's cuttings. This is the rosemary on this side, and it looks terrible. I don't know if any of them are going to root. Here's the oregano in here. Here's one of the lavenders. On this side I put mint, and the mint is looking really good, so I think it has roots on it. And if I tug on it very gently, there's some resistance, so I think it has roots. These guys, I don't know. They don't look very good. But there's one oregano right here, and it has some new growth on it. So I'm going to see if it comes out. But there is some brand new growth starting to grow, and that means it could have roots. But not, oh, it popped out right there. Yeah, no roots. It looks terrible on the bottom. Okay, so we just have to give them time. And then here's some of the sages here. It looks like this one dried completely up, so it's no good. That one dried up. So a lot of times it's hard to do cuttings, and this time it looks like we're not getting a very good rooting going. But sometimes I've done it and I've had 80%. Usually I figure about 50%. This time it looks like I may have like 20% or less on some of these. A couple of these completely died out. So right here, the mint looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and get a mint transplanted into this pot. Now mint is something that will spread very rapidly, so I don't like to plant mint in my garden. I like to keep it contained to pots so that it does not become a weed problem. Mints can easily become a weed problem. And if you have a piece of soil where nothing will grow, put mint there. There's a good chance it will take over and cover the soil, and you'll have a good ground cover. So let's just try this one here. So I loosened the roots. Hey, oh yeah, look at that. It even kept the root ball together. That's pretty awesome. So I'm just going to go ahead and plant that in here. So there's a mint. And I planted a chocolate mint, a spearmint, and a peppermint. And I don't know which is which, but once they mature and get bigger, we can tell by the taste and by the shape of the leaves. So I'm not concerned about that right now. Okay, so let's try this again with another one. This one had great big leaves on it. Let's see what it's doing, if it rooted. Yeah, it certainly rooted. The root ball didn't stay together, but mint's so resilient and tough. So that was what I cut it off right there. We put rooting powder on it, and then it has totally sprouted roots. So we'll just set that in there, and away we go. So that's good. That looks like a spearmint. Had those big old beautiful spearmint leaves. Now I don't use a lot of mint in my cooking, but once in a while I do. So I'm only going to have a few of these plants. I use a lot of sage, thyme, rosemary, but I don't use a lot of mint. Okay, that one's good. It's kept the root ball together. It has so many roots. So there's another mint. Wonderful. So I like to put a lot of soil on there, and then I just firm it up a little bit by tapping it down. Let's see, this one looks like a chocolate mint over here. And it looks like it's rooted because the leaves look really good. Yeah, there's roots on there. You can see the roots on that little stick coming down. So that's good. So there's that one. And get a bunch of dirt on here, and then we'll tap it down. That one's not rooted. That one is rooted. You see the roots right there? So that's wonderful. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and let this tray of mints and the other cuttings, I will just let those continue to grow for a while, and we'll see what happens. Okay, I have not pulled any of the rosemaries out yet because they're still very small, but I'm excited to pull a rosemary. A lot of times these herbs like to grow in poor soil, so it'll be interesting to see how they do in the best soil in the world, which is this worm castings. We even have live earthworms in there working it. So that'll be fascinating to understand what's happening with these guys. So I think I'll be done for today. We'll go ahead and just let these continue to grow. These herbs in here, they'll just get a little bit bigger. There'll be more root bound. We'll be able to pull them out a little bit easier. See, that one came out good. But that's what we want. And I didn't loosen the bottom of that one, and it popped out because it's a big plant and it's root bound in there. So if we waited until these were all that way, then it would be easier to transplant them. We'll go ahead and water these, and then we'll be on our way. Hopefully this video was the simplicity on the other side of complexity.